Maria, and I'm delighted to be your host for the third season of the Drag and Drop Show. I've dedicated an entire podcast season to some of the most challenging rebrands in SaaS and beyond. Why? Because we just went through on ourselves. We deeply empathize with the hard work, dedication, and personal commitment it takes to rebrand an entire company. So we kick off the third season of the Drag and Drop Show with a special episode featuring the founder of Creatopy, Gabriel Ciordaș, and Ciprian Robu, senior designer at Brandient. Let's meet the guests. With boundless optimism and total faith in his team, Gabriel talks about how the rebrand process worked and which goals acted as fuel for it. Learn how Creatopy was designed to elevate the company's presence in the industry so it reflects its current posture and the bold evolution of the platform. On the agency side, Ciprian led the creation of the new brand universe. His rich and vivid insights describe what it took to architect the transition from Bannersnack to Creatopy. We discuss what happens when a company outgrows its brand and how the team's ambitions for the future are reflected in the new identity. Ciprian shares highly valuable insights for fellow creatives, from the crucial element of building an internal brand to sustaining the momentum that a rebrand ignites. From aha moments and satisfying wins to the unexpected challenges that pop up along the way, both guests share it all with enthusiasm and honesty. You also get to learn how the Creatopy team worked with Brandient to materialize a rebrand that looks as great on the outside as it feels on the inside among its team members. Join me as we dive into the story right now. How do you decide it's time for a rebrand? What questions do you use to get clarity and architect a vision that can accompany the organization as it evolves? So let's start with the brand designer's perspective. So today we have so much to talk about, the experience of working on the Bannersnack rebrand and how that turned into Creatopy and the entire story behind that. I'm very excited to get your perspective, especially because you were basically behind all of this, you and the rest of the team, of course, working together with the entire Bannersnack team, now Creatopy. And again, there's so much to dig into. But I wanted to start, with one of the key things. So I'm a big fan of questions and using them to explore things. So I was wondering, when a project like this comes up, what is the first question that you usually ask when this type of rebrand comes your way?
From a brand consultant's point of view, the first questions I think are about the actual context, brand circumstances. For example, why does it want to rebrand? What is the vision of the company? How and when it started as a company? What are the fields in which it operates? I don't know. What are the products? And so on and so forth. Yeah, I think it's very important that finding out where a brand stands in the market is a crucial first step. If you don't investigate, immerse yourself, and do proper research, you'll not understand the issues, of course, and you'll end up creating false solutions for false problems. Yeah.
Switching views. What business value does a rebrand have? Now, not to give away too much, but in this episode, you'll discover how the rebrand changed the company, made its culture stronger, and even increased the level of product innovation. This is especially exciting because we're finally talking about one of the biggest things to happen to the company, which is a full rebrand. So a change of name and the change of identity. So much has happened over the last months. So I'm very curious to capture as much of that as possible. So take me back a bit and tell us why do a rebrand in the first place? So why did you decide now is the time in the company's evolution to do this?
So I would like to make a small adjustment to what you said. It's by far the biggest event in the history of this company. So why? We have started this company in 2008. Since then, we have gone through a lot of changes. Unfortunately, you cannot have everything outlined from the very beginning. Everything is changing from employees to customers to trends, so forth and so on. So, a company, is going through a lot of changes from all the aspects possible. We strongly believe that right now our company has reached maturity, if you want. So this is why we need to make some changes. And this is why we have decided that our company will step into a different league. And in order to step in the big league with playing with the big boys, you need to have all the right tools and gears and aspects and so forth. So this is why we have moved from a product name, Bannersnack, that was very, very limitative, meaning banner. Snack is not a very happy word as well. This is why we have moved into a brand area, because in our perspective, brand is a very, very important thing. Internal one and external one as well, meaning that, if you have a strong brand, our colleagues will have something to dream with, dream at. Same thing with customers. Customers like to stick brands, not necessarily to products, rather than brands.
That is so true, and that emotional attachment is increasingly more important. Not that it's always been important, but now we feel the need to kind of get more out of the interactions that we have with either brands or companies, other people, of course. So I find it very, it's kind of a, let's say, graduation in terms of the company's evolution, because you're finally you're updating what has been going on inside a company for such a long time, and you're matching that, you're bringing that in line with what's communicated on the outside. And I think that is that congruence, that consistency is something that obviously customers and people in general value very much, but it's also a big effort to do that, because you're always working on making the product better, and you're always working to put out helpful content, and the company has been talking about branding for such a long time and so consistently, and helping other people achieve their goals. So kind of now it was finally the time to do that for your own company. And I know that like the shoemaker always leaves his shoes last, doesn't he?
That is very, very true. And you said a few good things there. And yeah, you're right. We help companies improve their brands, promote their brands and so forth. And yet we were not doing very well at this chapter. So this is one of the reasons why we decided to make a change.
To rebuild the company's identity based on the core principles that brought it to its present stage starts with a fundamental question. Why do a rebrand? Here's what other questions Ciprian used to uncover the pillars that Bannersnack was built on before it became Creatopy.
From a designer's point of view, this question lands a bit later. Even before the official design briefing, we as designers ask a lot of questions. The first one, of course, is what is that brand about? And it depends a lot from case to case. Sometimes you really don't have any clues about that company, about what they do, about who they are. Most often the name doesn't say much. I think there were cases in which only knowing the name, I thought I'll design a brand for a construction materials company. But after the briefing session, I found out that the brand was about a cutting-edge piece of technology. In this particular case, in Creatopy's case, I already knew what Bannersnack at that time was. I heard about it on social media before. I also have a friend who works there.
That's very cool.
Yeah, and to be more specific, after that, the design-related questions arise. For example, like what are you trying to convey through design? I don't know. Does it need to feel in a particular way? Is that an established company? It needs to be masculine, sensible, I don't know, delicious. It depends from brand to brand. And of course, what problems are we trying to resolve? It's a brand architecture problem. It's about the perceived quality of the product. And after all, yeah, why are we doing this? So I think there are essential questions.
A rebrand is an opportunity to have deep, thoughtful conversations around a company's growth prospects and its vision for the future. In this context, the Bannersnack team set its sights high. The rebrand is a pivotal moment in the company's development, as it had outgrown its name and positioning. So here's the inside scoop on the issues they addressed through the name and brand transformation.
They had an ambitious vision. The business had a period of organic growth, and they were looking at branding as an instrument to sustain and positively influence this moment of growth. And as you said about the name Bannersnack was perceived as limiting, and it misaligned the real capabilities of the platform and the business ambitions. The product far exceeding the scope of a banner creator. The banner, if we try to, I don't know, analyze this name, the banner particle limits the supply of products, and the particle snack kind of diminishes the promise of a reliable product. So even if it indicates, ease, lightness, accessibility in using the platform, the name Bannersnack does not create the desired association for the future of the company.
It's also interesting to note that rebranding was a business opportunity for the company. Ciprian Robu, senior designer at Brandient, explains why.
The branding stage is I think it's in a pretty early in this category. And of course, it was an opportunity for Bannersnack to make an impression in this regard.
While rebranding is all about change, there's also a deeper layer to it, capturing the essence of a company, the elements that underpin its success and growth. So I asked Gabriel Ciordaș, Creatopy founder, to share what remained unchanged throughout this transformative process. First of all, the change in name requires quite some work to pull off and to implement. So before we talk about all of the things that have changed, I was very curious about all of the things that have stayed the same. Kind of what is at the core of the company that has remained unchanged and continues to fuel this evolution?
I would say that the spirit will be unchanged, meaning that we always tried to put our soul out there to make sure that the customer gets everything that he wants and needs. So we're always focusing on doing better in order for our customers to do better. They are our only target, if you want, as far as looking for needs. We're not really coming up with ideas of how we want to evolve, but we rather look at companies and customers' needs and try to fulfill those. So this will be unchanged. We will always try to do our best in order to satisfy customer needs and to make sure that everybody's super happy and satisfied with us. But, all of this will have a different code, meaning that, we'll have a different name, different image. The look and feel will be totally different. As we said earlier, we're mature now, and we are aware of all the things that we need to change in order to be better, stronger. And with a little bit of optimism, why not become number one in our industry?
So what does it look like when you take these enduring elements and use them as a foundation for a rebrand? Here's how it worked when Bannersnack became Creatopy. my perception as a communication specialist is that people are always like so very attached to their brand that they want it represented in a certain way that's exactly that doesn't change, that's not alterable, that's not modifiable. And I feel that brings some, let's say, rigidity instead of creating that flexibility. And I love how you've basically opened up the brand identity to so many possibilities.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it was an opportunity because yeah, it's a digital brand, and the digital brands behave differently than classical brands. Than I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, they were like a symbol and the word mark put and they were placed, I don't know, in a corner of the layout, and that was it. So yeah.
I love that.
We're in the 21st century, so yeah, we've done an identity for the 21st century.
And for everything that the company can become going forward. And that's a very difficult and very challenging task, to design a brand that will be able to grow and evolve in a future that we don't know what it looks like. We don't know, how things will shape up. But that is basically rooted in kind of the core principles of the company, and that core identity that fuels everything that we do. So kind of which values did you decide to carry on from the old brand into the new brand identity? Because to me, I think that's very important. That ensures continuity, especially when you're changing the name of the company and everything about it.
Yeah, very good question. I think you'll be surprised, but more or less the values remain the same. But they were, I think, reinterpreted and standardized by the brand consultants. In Creatopy's case, I don't know, they were identified something like belonging. For example, I belong to a beautiful minds and to a team of beautiful minds and open hearts, allowing me to think sharp, to glow bright, and to stay agile. And yeah, you already can see how we put the glow part in this specific value. Another one. It's the passion for technology. I'm in technology. As an employee, I'm passionate about. I actually live and breathe technology, and that's it. As a services brand, I care. It's about the customer-driven approach. About delivering the best customer experience, because I'm as an employee, I'm seriously going to knock our client socks off with a state-of-the-art journey on our platform, pleasant and productive.
Many companies today claim to be customer driven, but the ones that actually practice this principle know it takes a lot of hard work. Creatopy founder Gabriel Ciordaș reveals how customer research fueled the rebranding process and aligned the team like no other experience before it. So talking about that, because you mentioned that you're always looking at customers and you're always focused on them. How was it? What was it like from your perspective, from the business perspective, to kind of figure out what internally from the brand and your growth aspirations, and how do they match to kind of this new stage that the company is entering? How did you talk to customers? How did you test out your ideas? And kind of give us a behind the scenes look into that.
It's a very, very long process, and it is combined with a lot of information gathering, if you want. It's not necessarily a recipe. It's not something that I could outline, point A, point B, point C. But basically, given the fact that it's in our DNA to listen to customers' needs and problems, I think it was a very natural process for us to focus on what they want. I think our team did a very good job in making sure that all of the information that they gathered is pulled into one spot, and then from there we analyze everything, and then we make decisions on what and how we need to make changes to our product, our flow, to our brand, and so forth and so on. So basically, everybody listens to the customer, from our product manager to our support colleagues. Everybody's out there with the ears and eyes wide open to make sure that we capture every single detail and aspect of customers' needs. And once you have this data, it's easier to work with. It's not done, so it's not only about collecting the information. It's also about understanding better how to transform your product to perfectly fit your customers' needs.
You seem to trust your team a lot with kind of having the customer at their core and always listening to them no matter what they do. So if you could dive in a little bit on kind of who worked behind the scenes and kind of what were the roles and key people that made this happen, because obviously when you're collecting that much information and when you have so much to think about and to work with, you're going to need someone who has ownership and who can kind of analyze and bring together and extract the best of the best from that so they can actually then implement.
Yes, I strongly believe that the most important success factor that you need is your team. I don't believe in companies with employees. I believe in companies with team members. Every single one of us had a contribution, smaller or bigger, in the making of the new brand and the new flow and so forth. I wouldn't want to necessarily give names because maybe I'll forget some of them, and I wouldn't want to offend nobody. But I like to think that our organization is not a pyramid, if you want. It's a straight line. So we're basically all on the same level, but we have different jobs, and we are responsible for different aspects of the company, brand, product, and so forth. But I can surely tell you that if any one of the actual team members would have missed, our product would have been less good. So I think that every one of us has a contribution in this.
As you can imagine, it didn't help that the last stage of the rebrand happened in 2020, one of the most difficult years for almost every company out there. Because honesty is built into Creatopy as a company, Gabriel was also very candid about the challenges of pulling off the process and maintaining enthusiasm through these deeply challenging times. So what was it like to work with the entire company to pull this off in a year where you can't have, you don't really have live meetings and you're missing a lot of the key elements that would have connected and kind of brought the team even closer together around this entire process?
Unfortunately, this period was not a very favorable for us because, as you mentioned, we could not have too many live meetings. Even if we did, just a few people attended. That was a huge drawback for us. But the enthusiasm was or is so great that we kind of overcome all these difficulties. But yes, we have to admit that it was not that comfortable. We could have done a lot better, a lot faster if everybody would have been in the office. But it is what it is. Everybody goes through the same situation, and if everybody else is making it, we need to adjust and do a great job as we are right now.
For Creatopy, the rebranding process was almost like a rebirth. It wasn't just a name and a visual evolution because it actually permeated the entire company. The founder himself explains why the launch of the new brand identity was postponed and how it elevated the work of the entire team.
My colleagues liked it so much that initially we planned to launch the brand a lot sooner. but my colleagues liked it so much and they valued it so high that they said, okay, we cannot launch this product under this gorgeous brand. So we need to rewrite everything in the product in order to match the quality and the emotion that the new brand is transmitting. So we have delayed our rebrand because it's not going to be a rebrand. It's going to be a brand new thing from every single aspect: product, flow, look and feel. I would say every aspect that's related to of company.
So it's kind of like a rebirth and not just a rebrand. It's definitely like
Exactly.
a rebirth. Creatopy was born through the combined efforts of the internal team at Bannersnack and Brandient, an agency that specializes in brand innovation in emerging markets and industries. Let's hear both sides talk about their experience and the fundamental relationships that make a rebrand work.
So we work with an agency, probably one of the best agencies out there. The agency name is Brandient. Fantastic people, tremendous talent. So the process was pretty smooth and straightforward. Basically, they interviewed us. We have again opened our soul and put everything on the table. They understood very well who we are, how ambitious we are, and how far we want to get with this brand. So in order to fulfill our dreams, they needed to come up with a fantastic brand, fantastic look, everything that the brand transpires, emotions, so forth and so on. Everything was in the right spot. So this is how we get to the name, to the look and feel, and so forth. The spirit is inside, and that's us basically. And you will be able to feel that once you start using the product, and once you start understanding that we have came up with, as the name says, the name Creatopy comes from the two words create and utopia. So basically, we will create a heaven of creation, if I can say that.
What are kind of the essential like agency client relationships that make this flow of information and energy possible in a way that's really, it makes sense, it's connected, it's well presented, and so on?
We're a brand consultancy, so that's I think that's why a lot of relationships are different than I don't know, let's say the advertising world. I think it's the trust and the mutual respect for each other's work, and the trust and I think the trust come from the consultant's authority on that. It was a great relationship and still is. They came to Brandient with a problem. They listened to our advice. And they took our recommendations with an open mind. I remember there were some moments of polishing things together, but it all went smooth and easy. Yeah. I also think it was important that they are a group of highly professional people. Their team put the right questions, had the right point of view, and clearly understood the whole process. And of course, like when two companies, in our case, Brandient and Creatopy, are in such yin-yang relationship, only the good things will follow. So it's
absolutely true. Isn't that it's the commitment to the process. It's being there and wanting to do things, not being there and looking to be convinced or wowed or anything. It's about building things together. And I feel like that's also kind of the way that Creatopy operates and the way that the team operates. It's helping creators put their best foot forward. It's being like partners, and it's not a power struggle to let's see who's right, but let's create something really good together that makes an impact, that truly helps people. Connecting people to product, to customers, and the larger creative community, Creatopy's rebranding story covers it all. Now that you've seen what happened behind the scenes, it's time to unpack the creative direction and significance of the main elements of this rebrand. Ciprian shares the pivotal choices and the unmissable details that made Creatopy the deeply human and vibrant brand you see today. How did you go about, creating the new brand? What's behind the name, and how did you create kind of this larger than its category brand that can sustain the company going forward and that basically aligns the internal capabilities, the maturity of the product and the team with its ambitions for the future?
I think, we created a new brand idea, of course. And in accordance with this brand idea, which is creative empowerment, let's start with the logo, for example. The Creatopy logo dramatized the core concept of creativity via a widely used, hence easy to decode metaphor, which is the bright light. And the symbol is based on a trinity of elements. Of the C letter, which stands, of course, for Creatopy, creation, creativity. The ideal, which is the sphere, utopia in our vision, and the glow, because it's very glowy, it's very magical, which stands, of course, for idea, creativity, intelligence. I don't know if you think the right side of the brain, which is the creative side of the brain, and more than that, that symbol is we try to make that symbol dynamic. We saw this visual identity to be to breathe, to be alive, and via its glow gradient, because it has a gradient in that glow. The symbol is able to shift its color from the main from the main green cyan gradient to the next in line hues in the color circle. For example, blue to indigo, violet to magenta, red to orange, and orange to yellow. Also, the logo can borrow colors from the surrounding elements, creating chromatic harmonies. So it feels like, if it were an animal, I think we can associate the chameleon with this symbol. If you put it near a yellow lamp, it becomes yellow. If you put it near a gray image, it becomes grayish and stuff like that. Also, I think when applied to digital media, in website, for example, the logo can change glow color and even size, reaching the next level. So sometimes it can be more diffuse, and sometimes it can be more compact, and stuff like that. And in certain circumstances, the logo can react to specific triggers. Maybe briefly flashing or expanding its glow to a larger size. If you use the cursor or something like that to interact with that, it can transform.
I really love that, let's say the versatility of it, and it kind of gives you the opportunity. It grows with you, so you can basically take that core identity and mold it and kind of make it yours as a creator, and at the same time you can identify with it in the context where you most kind of feel comfortable and where you most interact and create a relationship with it. I feel like all the names out there are taken. So can you tell us how that happened, how you managed to find something that, breathes life into this new brand in a way that's very clear and concise?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's, I think, millions of names, as you said, have already been registered by hundreds of thousands of companies across the globe. So creating and protecting a name takes a unique combination of creative and administrative skills. Luckily, Brandient has already created original names for, I think, more than 150 companies now. And so that process went as usual, difficult but steady. I think on our final list, when on the naming presentation, we proposed around 10 or 12 names, and we had 2 or 3 favorites, and Creatopy was one of them. So I think, I personally think the name it's great for them. It's awesome. It's I don't know. I can talk a bit about it because I'm very fascinated, and I'm really proud that our team succeeded to create such a great name. Of course, it's derived from creation, creativity, and also utopia. And I think the name denotes the idea of perfect creation and the vast imaginary potential. The best place for creativity, actually. Creatopy is the state of grace when the act of creation flows and flows perfectly, and all ideas enthusiastically come out. So I think, and the best part, it at that time it had a .com available, so which is mandatory for a brand, for a global name. So isn't that wonderful? Yeah.
After all this painstaking work, you might wonder how the team felt when they saw the new brand reveal. Having led the company through this effort, Gabriel shares how the internal brand launch went and what risks he had to manage as the public launch got closer and closer.
Actually, in 2018, we have realized that the foundation of our company is weaker than what we're building and what we're about to build. So we had no option, meaning that we could have not avoided this in any way. Obviously, there are some elements that you need to take into consideration, and we have tried to communicate step-by-step things. But I think at the end of the day, when when we had the brand launch, internally, obviously, everybody was extremely happy. Everybody was super excited, super optimistic, because you can realize from the moment you see the brand, it definitely communicates in the very first second that we are there to make a change in our industry for the better. So you don't have to talk too much or to explain too much once you have seen it. And this is what kind of made my mission a lot easier, because we first presented internally, and then everybody was super happy. So we had basically no issues with that.
I wanted to ask from a business perspective, what were the risks that you imagined, so you had at the top of your mind when you knew this was going to happen, especially with the rename, because that involves so many things. It's not just the domain, it's the SEO aspect, it's the migration, there are so many things and so many ramifications. So what were those risks that you were most aware of when you went into this?
Well, there's risk in every aspect of our life, but given the fact that we have such a great team with such great brains, I did not look too much at the risks. I would rather say I was focused on opportunities. I'm not saying that we turned our backs on the risk side, but it's not something that we have focused on. Of course, now that you mentioned it, there are so many things that could go wrong. People would not like the new flow. They're not getting used to it quick enough, and they would go to our competitors. I don't know, failures in the SEO, and we lose all of our organic traffic. There are so many things. But, in my perspective, as mentioned earlier, we have evolved to a stage where we know what we're doing. We know we're a great team. Once you have that, you can overcome any obstacle. We have quite a few customers that love us, and most definitely they will not all leave together. Again, given the enthusiasm that we have, given the fact that we know that we will come up with a fantastic product, with a fantastic brand, we look at risk, but I think it's pretty low. I wouldn't worry that much about that.
If you've never done a rebrand before, you may wonder what a typical timeline looks like. While every company is unique, learning from Creatopy's experience can help you step into a rebranding process with more realistic expectations. Here's your chance to see things both from the business and the agency side with a clear breakdown of the core steps you'll go through.
We have started the rebranding process in 2018. In 2019, we had the back and forth changes and so forth. In the middle of 2019, we decided that we're ready to go anytime soon. But when we made the presentations to our colleagues internally, they realized that the product is not good enough for the brand. So we postponed everything, and now we are in the process of rewriting everything as far as the product flow, the perspectives, target market, so forth and so on, in order that the product matches the name and the brand, obviously. So this is how we decided that we'll launch in February of 2021, February 8th to be more exact. We are very excited to see what happens, and once that happens, I will probably be able to tell you all the mistakes we've made during the process. But I'm very optimistic. Everybody's super optimistic. We have small fears and doubts, but I think that's something normal. It takes a lot of meetings because you have to make sure that we're all aligned. Other than a lot of meetings, it's a lot of debates, a lot of pros and cons, this color, this thing, that picture, so forth. But I'm grateful that our team was strong enough to overcome all the different perspectives, and now everybody's super aligned. I can tell you that we have never been so aligned from the beginning of this company so far. So this is the first time when we are 100% aligned with everybody and everything.
So just to give people a quick idea of what, let's say, the timeline looked for, like for this rebrand, could you tell us kind of how long let's say the big stages took, just to give people an idea, because people might think that a rebrand is something that you can pull off just right away, but I'm sure that, you can tell us that that is not the actual reality.
Nowadays the whole process is a bit shorter, but a full and serious rebranding process can take more than 6 months, and and the timelines, I think it looks like this. The first step usually is every branding project starts somewhere, but often in the wrong place. So you might ask what is the right place to start. And I think is it with in-depth research about the company or organization market, the problems they face and the opportunities that are opening up. Only by mapping, interrogating, and understanding the issues, you can start to unpick a strategic problem, see the gaps, and plan where to go next. So that would be the first step. The second step is once we fully understand the context of a brand, we can begin to define it and what it stands for and what are its core purpose. Before we can go anywhere near the design process, I think we need to get everyone to agree on the verbal basis for the new brand. And this can be a simple headline or, 100 words manifesto. It depends. In Creatopy's case, it's just the brand idea is creative empowerment. So it's a simple, bold statement. And the The third step is where the design work starts. Designers need to be briefed, and the creative process itself needs to be handled very carefully. In this phase, it is, if it's a great project like Creatopy, all designers want to come up with solutions and ideas. So we, in our case at Brandient, we usually enter an internal competition. The designer whose idea is chosen by the client will win and will lead the project.
Oh, cool. So let me guess, this is exactly what happened with you.
Yeah. Small win after some years when I lose a lot of projects because I was at the beginning of my career, and that project was a big win for me and a big victory.
That's so cool. It's like a milestone. It's also a personal milestone. And I'll let you wrap up the stages, but I can't wait to talk about your personal experience as well. So there was the internal competition that you won, and that you became the owner of the process going forward.
But of course under the supervision of my creative director, Cristian Paul, which is the head of design, and he inspired me with the brand idea and all the rhetoric written for the brand. So the step 4, I think it's the implementation phase. I think the key to this stage is the understanding that while the hard graft of step 1 and the verbal and visual creativity of step 2 and 3 are vital, but I think without solid and consistent implementation, an idea can quickly fall apart. It could be the greatest strategic idea on earth or the world's finest symbol, but if it isn't seen and understood, then it will fail, I think. This step depends on a mixture of single-minded application and the rule making and the willingness to be flexible enough and to adapt if the circumstances or the budget becomes a constraint. So and usually the last step of brand and rebrand timeline is the engaging. The importance of this step, as we discussed earlier, is only really started to be understood now. Brands can be nurtured and cultured, but once launched, there is another task that must be ongoing. This is the job of ensuring a new idea is fully understood deep within the organization or culture. So I think that's pretty much it from my knowledge.
Without a doubt, the value of a brand is essential in our lives. We need to get more out of our interactions with brands, both as consumers and as employees. That's why to make a rebrand work, you need to find that authentic alignment between the internal team, the brand values, and most of all, what customers need and expect from it. Ciprian has a clarifying perspective on this, including a quote that sticks with you long after you've listened to this episode. How did you go about, cascading and communicating this new identity, of course, while working with the leadership of the company, to get this entire process started and make sure that it goes well?
Sometimes the temptation is to think job done after the strategy or the final design presentation. So job done. But this is where the long-term job begins, especially with larger organizations with layers of management and hundreds of employees. If the new direction isn't understood internally, the task ahead may be an uphill struggle. This is where the brand engagement comes in. And one of the key tasks of this step, engaging, is to take the words, the ideas, and designs agreed upon and extend them in real life situations. In Creatopy's case, it was a brand engagement session with all employees, They released an internal newsletter as a teaser a few days prior to the event, a goodie bag with branded giveaways and other small surprises. I think for the verbal elements, which crucially affects how a brand or organization communicates and behaves, this is the perfect time to establish what those values will really mean in everyday usage. The point is, I don't think the point is to invite employees in a conference room and tell them, oh, here are the brand values and beliefs to guide you from now on. Good luck with that. People must have a predisposition towards these values, and you must explore ways of enhancing that predisposition. Ideally, the new idea will begin to cascade down within the company, and either formally or informally, staff will become ambassadors for the new way of working. They can then begin to run groups with other members of staff and become informal explainers. I remember that day very clearly. It was an awesome day, except for the evening, because we were stuck in the airport because of the heavy fog. But they were very excited, and they started to applaud when the brand then was explained and show. The brand materials were awesomely implemented by the in-house design team, and it seemed they were ready for the next step. For great people to work with. Yeah, I have a note with a quote by Wally Wallins here that says, like, if you cannot train your own staff in what you are, in what you think, and in what you believe, in how you behave, and what your moves and percepts are, how the hell can you expect to train the customers?
However, it's not all butterflies and rainbows when you work on a rebrand. As the lead on the project, Ciprian faced an unexpected challenge that made him reconsider an essential decision. Let's hear all about that. But, everything is not rosy, and as smooth as things go, there are always challenges. So did any unexpected challenges pop out along the way? Could you talk a bit about them?
Yeah, unexpected. At some point, I think the project was the project was delayed for a few days, or I think a week or two. I don't remember. It was a year ago, and it was a design-driven challenge this time. In the initial presentation of the visual identities proposals, we presented as usual. I don't know, the logo, the color palette, the typography, the other brand properties, the photography styles, and so on. And I remember for the logo that was chosen, that I chose a very modern typeface with a lot of character, and we were happy about the way it worked, both on print and on screen. But exactly on that day, a big competitor announced their rebranding, and I was shocked to see that they were using the same typeface for their own voice, and it was a direct competitor, and it happens extremely rare, but it happens in this industry, also the Bannersnack team wanted a global typeface, so it's a whole new level when you search for a voice in, I don't know, Latin, Greek, Cyrillic, Japanese, Chinese, and a new search and research were done. And after a few full days, we had a new winner, which was called Ping. It has a cool name. That typeface. We're very proud of that typeface, and both us and the Creatopy team fell in love with this new voice of the brand. So I think it was like a divine sign that I was able to see that on that moment. But for loyal customers, rebranding process usually means a big change. What if the product isn't the same? That's on the external part. What if they change the feature I loved? Why isn't Bannersnack anymore? And this new change needs to be explained very carefully to them. The customers usually see just the tip of the iceberg, the new clothes. That's why in the media, a rebranding is often seen as a change of a logo.
Exactly. And that's why I love that we got to do this entire podcast season about rebranding, to see that there is so much more to it, to help other creators who might like to work on this and who might like to do this for their own companies, to help them see, the depth that this process has, the complexity, the, let's say, also personal transformation a little bit that it involves, because it kind of teaches you and it pushes you to think about things that maybe you haven't considered. And I love that you mentioned it. I think that there are many, brand consultants that would speak to this like, hey, a rebrand is not just like trying to wrap things in a beautiful package. It's actually making the package great once you open it too. A rebrand is a transformative process, not just for the company itself, but also for the people in it. Listening to Creatopy's founders speak about this graduation-like moment in the company's history might prompt you to reflect on your own posture and vision for the future. Let's go into specifics and see these changes through his eyes. How have you seen people kind of change maybe over the course of this process? Because you mentioned that you've never been so aligned internally. So what do you think happened in their lives and in their kind of dynamic?
Probably the biggest change that I've noticed is that my colleagues have switched from, I think we should do that. They switched to, the customer would want this and that. So this is a huge change because, sometimes when you work with a product, or when you develop a product for so many years, you have the impression that you know it all and that your ideas are the best. And then, you realize that the customer has a totally different perspective. So when you understand that we need to understand the customer and develop that, rather than, I think I have a good idea, let's develop that, then you can call yourself a mature company. And I think, if you look at all the big companies, they all do that. They want to make sure that, they listen to their customer. They're very focused on how to make him happy, how to make his life easier and better and so forth. And this is the biggest change that I've seen inside the company. I remember way back in the days, we used to sit down and say, okay, I think we should do this. I think we should do that. Okay, we made a list. All right, we have 3 things, 5 things, whatever to develop. Let's get started. Now we are doing, for every single bit of change that we're creating, we are looking at a customer. We're looking obviously at the competitors, because we need to make sure that we're always better than them. And based on these 2 factors, we start executing things. So this is a huge change. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. But once you reach here, sky is the limit as far as customer satisfaction.
What do you think is now are now the key differentiators for Creatopy in this space? I was looking to get your perspective into, let's say, the creative space, the space of creative tools that enable creativity and basically underpin everything that someone needs to roll out their creativity and do it in a way that's productive and efficient and that actually resonates with people.
Well, key differentiators, you kind of said 2 of them, creativity, efficiency. We understand, given the long history that we have, we understand that almost all companies go through the same processes when their creative people are, they need to deliver. So once you understand the process of each category, because Creatopy will not only address a certain category of employees. We hope and we believe that Creatopy will be used by several layers of people, from designers to marketers to HR to management. Everybody that wants to communicate internally or externally, they will use Creatopy, because Creatopy is a tool that will help you communicate in a standard, if you want. Also, we will help you automate certain things, because just to give you an example, you need a huge campaign with tons of creatives. The alternative right now is to create each and one of them differently. Now we have an automation tool that basically allows you to create it once or twice and then replicate in all the sizes and shapes and forms and so forth. So it's very, very important to understand the way customers work, and to understand each level of the target market that we have, so we can address each and one of them in order to make things smoother, better, easier, cheaper, maybe, as far as cost, or cost effective, not cheaper, I would say. So combining all these, you come up with a perfect picture of what your product needs to look like.
And how it needs to behave to meet all of these needs of so many different people who have similar goals, but to their, let's say, level of expertise, the way that they use the product, that is so different. And indeed, scalability and creativity has always been a big challenge, because there's so much nuance. Everyone's so keenly focused on detail, because that's what always makes a difference. And to be able to scale that using automation that actually makes sense, that doesn't distort a brand, that doesn't distort the creative concept, that is something rare that's going to be incredibly valuable for everyone involved. So really looking forward to using that myself. From giving Bannersnack a new name and a new identity, to harnessing the values and principles that make a company last, we've covered it all in this episode. To wrap up, we handpicked the key lessons that the founder and the lead brand designer learned through it all. Broaden your view using their experience, so you'll step into your new project with an elevator perspective.
My advice in looking back probably is to work with the best people in the industry, as far as employees and as far as companies that you collaborate with, agency, whatever. That's key. I mean, you don't have a lot of shots. I mean, it's not like you made a mistake, you'll try another one, you'll made a mistake. I think a rebrand, if it's a failure, your whole company goes bust. So you have to be very, very attentive on that. Number two, probably I would say to be 110% focused on customer needs. Number three, keep a very, very close eye at your competitors. Never underestimate competitors. Make sure it's a huge level of respect with the good ones there, because that will keep your feet on the ground and your brain sharp. These are the key elements. I mean, if you work with the best, if you focus on customers, if you keep a close eye on your competitors, that should kind of summarize everything that you need to do when you do a rebrand.
So kind of what parts of your experience and which specific skills came in handy during this rebranding process from Bannersnack to Creatopy?
I think I have already been warmed up a bit before this project, because weeks before starting designing for Creatopy, I had finished another brand identity for a digital brand, which was an e-commerce platform. And I think it wasn't a specific set of skills. I treated this project like all the projects I've worked on during the last few years. But I think as a brand designer, it is essential, not important, is essential to understand the strategy and the overall context. Otherwise, as I said earlier, you'll end up creating false solutions for false problems, or for problems that doesn't even exist. So yeah, I remember in my first week at Brandient, almost 6 or 7 years ago, Aneta Bogdan called me to her office, closed the door, and said to me, "You're here because we think you pretty know how to draw, but in order to be a real designer, you must understand and learn two things: branding and business." So I think that's why it's important to understand the strategy and the context of this word. I think it also helped a lot that I'm a digitally native. The computer, of course, is in my DNA as a designer. Even if I always start with a pen, a pencil and paper. And in this specific case, it helped that of course, it is the nature of my job. I'm a designer, and Creatopy is a visual production platform. So I understand the product, its insights, and I'm on target.
So kind of what were the most, let's say, valuable lessons that you took from this particular milestone experience that was, working on the Bannersnack rebrand and creating Creatopy?
I think one of the most valuable lesson learned while working on the Bannersnack's rebrand was not to follow visual trends. I already was an acolyte of this theory, but when I chose the typeface, as I talked earlier, for the brand for the first time, I went with a very trendy one. I knew it was a chance to become popular at some point in the future, but I wasn't expected to be used by so many brands and in such a short amount of time. So I think it was divine intervention that I saw the other competitors rebranding showcased and changed it in time. And another more personal a very personal lesson learned, and I think the most important one, is to have fun even when the overall situation is not great. Because it was a moment, I think 1 year ago, so it was right before Christmas. Christmas was coming. My energy level was very low, and I had to finish the brand guidelines, the brand book for Creatopy. And I started as usual, planning it on a piece of paper. Then Kit, my creative director, saw me and asked me if I needed some help. I told him, sure, help me to write this chapter and this chapter, as I'm feeling a bit lost. I don't know how to start. I'm feeling, I don't know. I'm very, very low energy. And the next day he sent me a draft with my attitude completely changed. The way he wrote that document inspired me very much to rethink the whole brand book, and my energy levels increased again. He treated it like with wit, with humor, with creativity. It wasn't just a technical brand book. It was like a pure source of inspiration for me. I started to write too, and come up with ideas, and in the end, the Creatopy brand book was one of my favorite brand manifestations, and I hope that will be a source of inspiration for the in-house designers, as it was for me at that time.
So, now that you've seen the part of this rebranding iceberg that sits beneath the surface, we hope you stick around for more transformational stories. This entire season is packed with insightful conversations featuring some of the most thoughtful, empathetic, and ambitious branding leaders. We hope each story and example serves you on your path to becoming a bolder creator, a more generous contributor, and a more connected member of the creative community. Thanks for exploring another fascinating rebrand process with us. If you found it helpful, subscribe to the show and leave us a review. Until next time, this is Andra Zaharia. Thanks for watching the Drag and Drop Show by Creatopy.